Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog from Monday the 19th of May, 2014. The East Pacific hurricane season began a few days ago on May the 15th, so we are into the video blog time where we update you on current goings-on in the tropics, some educational material from time to time, and I like to start off with sea surface temperature anomalies in these discussions. Gives us a sort of a base of where we are and a good foundation of the discussion since sea surface temperatures do regulate a lot of what happens in the tropics, both with everyday weather and of course with tropical cyclones. So that being said, you see a pretty good area of above normal temperatures here. That's what the right hand side of the scale is. Stretching all the way across the tropical Pacific, this is the El Nino trying to develop. I'm going to talk more about this in just a moment. Also seeing some warmer than normal temperatures showing up between Africa and the Lesser Antilles, with a few patches of cooler water here and there. But overall, this region is warming up a little bit more. And then, of course, the western Atlantic basin is very warm compared to the long-term average, whereas the Gulf of Mexico, the western half of it, and the northwest region, very cold compared to the long-term average. But this is just getting towards late May. We're not quite into the Atlantic hurricane season yet, so these sea surface temperatures really don't matter too much yet. They will in the coming weeks and months, of course. But out here with this developing El Nino in the tropical Pacific, I want to show you this, the latest Climate Prediction Center International Research Institute probabilistic forecast. The red bars indicate the probability of El Nino taking shape, and the green is neutral, and the blue is La Nina. So notice the time frame here when we're most interested in things, and that's August, September, October, that we're only looking at about a 67% probability, 67% chance of El Nino developing. This is down from 70% at the last update just a few weeks ago. And then you see it peaks out at only just a little bit more than 70% in November, December, January. And then we start to slope downward with the El Nino probability, and then slope upward with the neutral probability as we get into early next year. So what this tells me is that even though we are seeing a decent amount of warming in the tropical Pacific here, this area probably doesn't have the staying power to be overwhelming, at least as much as some people were speculating in what they were calling a potential super El Nino, or a very strong El Nino. I think weak to moderate is about the most that we're going to see with this system. So we'll see, right? This system with the El Nino. I had to get rid of that pop-up. Don't know what that was. All right, so what's going on out there right now? Well, this is the region where the waters are warming, and you don't see that much convection over that area right now. We're in a downward phase of the Madden-Julian oscillation, which I'll show you in a moment. And so the only convective activity is right here, well to the southwest of Mexico. Hurricane Center has been keeping an eye on it, but it's very disorganized. Even the GFS over the next several days, this is 5 days out, very weak with the low pressure centered well to the south of Mexico. Strong high pressure over the eastern Pacific would steer this to the west. Even if it did develop, it would keep it away from Mexico. What we could really use is for something to come up and bring moisture into the southwest United States. But that's really hard to do this time of year with dominating high pressure over the eastern Pacific. So I mentioned the Madden-Julian oscillation. This is the upward motion, sort of a period of fertility, if you will, in the atmosphere that fosters tropical convection. And this is the past, several weeks, couple weeks, and this is where it is now. And then the green is the forecast, and the gray areas are sort of the limits of the different forecasts. The bottom line, what we're seeing, and this is from the ECMWF model, the MJO, or Madden-Julian oscillation, staying rather incoherent or very limited in its influence. And furthermore, it's not over here. You don't see the forecast showing the Madden-Julian oscillation stretching over into the western Pacific. Another reason why I think the El Nino just isn't going to be as big a deal as originally thought. Some people are actually hoping for a strong El Nino. That's a story for another day. But it's interesting to note that the Madden-Julian oscillation kind of hanging around either in phases 2 and 3, or, as the GFS shows, maybe phases 1 and 2. So the Euro and the GFS not too far apart, and their basic idea of keeping it rather weak, this upward motion signal rather weak and out of the western Pacific, shows me that A, we're not going to have much tropical cyclone activity over the next couple of weeks at all, and B, again, nothing to really help kickstart that El Nino and really keep it going. So weak to moderate El Nino is what I think logic dictates at this point. So things are pretty quiet out in the tropics, the eastern Pacific especially, since that's the area where the hurricane season has already begun. Of course, the Atlantic Basin begins on June the 1st, so about 12 days away, right? If my math is correct, 12 days away, and then we will have 6 months to watch and see what happens in the Atlantic Basin. Could be a busier than forecast year, I think, based on the El Nino not being as strong. I believe we're going to see a stronger hurricane season, only by a little bit, than was originally forecast here in April, and that's why they fine-tune their forecasts, I guess. Why don't they just make one and stick with it? But as with anything, science is an evolving process, and with new data, you can make new theories and new forecasts. So we'll see. The main thing is to be prepared, and hopefully with these updates we can help you do just that. You certainly have a pair of fantastic apps with Hurricane Pro and HD, depending on what device you're using, to keep you ready and informed along the way. All right, that's it from me for today. Again, I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. That's my website. Great to be back again this year for Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll speak at you again next Monday.